everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past podcasts used to be broadcasts. You can find them at the ArtistFirst Radio Network. We welcome your questions and comments. Please use dj@artistfirst.com. Here they are, fresh back from the Keys. Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Evan. We're not fresh back from the Keys because there was a July 4th in between.
True.
But we've been on the go for like 3 weeks, so it is nice to be back, and hopefully everyone missed us.
Oh dear.
Let's hope anyway. Tonight's episode is appropriate for anyone who missed us, because it's all about unconscious resentment. In case you were jealous of us having a nice vacation, but and that can be summed up in this wonderful phrase, which I wrote down in the little preamble that will go up on the website, or maybe already has gone up on the website. And we also have a quote from our favorite Eckhart Tolle, but this phrase, you've heard it before, and it's always meant to be a joke. It's we're not happy until you're not happy. And you hear it and you go, wait a minute, because it's meant to make you go, wait a minute, what do you mean you're not happy, and we're not happy until you're not happy? But that's unfortunately, Margaret, the way a lot of people will look at others who are quote unquote having, well, they shouldn't be having that much fun. Why are they enjoying themselves? They shouldn't. I should be enjoying it. They, and they get themselves kind of worked up, and they actually will, in essence, resent. And sometimes, as is our topic, it's an unconscious. It's a subtle resentment. You are almost the back of your mind phrase that's coming up is, well, they don't deserve that. And the corollary, which is often not stated, is, well, I do. Why are they having fun when I'm not having fun?
Right.
So I'm not happy until you're not happy. It's basically, misery loves company, as the saying goes. And of course, the only one who's unhappy in that equation is you. And the only one making you unhappy, for 100 points, Alex, in Jeopardy, who's making me unhappy? You again. The answer is you. Go ahead.
This subject is a result of an introspective moment where you're looking at something. You may not be thinking anything at all, but suddenly you see, well, gee, those people over there, they seem to be enjoying this. You can be all in a certain space, just as a group. And why are they enjoying this? This doesn't seem fun to me. Why are they so? And then once you ask that question, your mind there's a part of you that will come up with a whole bunch of different stories on why they seem to be enjoying themselves, and they're not that sophisticated. I do remember one incident where we were all watching fireworks, and they were quite amazing. We were kind of close too, so it was very boomy. But I do remember there was one family close enough so that we can hear the dad say, people like this, they don't know what they're missing. And you're like, well, why did you come?
Right.
You didn't want to just enjoy the fireworks. Why, he had to come up with a reason why he wasn't enjoying it, but everybody else was.
Right.
So they're just, they haven't seen real fireworks. Right. You guys are just amused by anything.
Right, you country bumpkins.
Or whatever. Just, it was this whole sequence of unhappiness that he wanted to be able to share with anyone who would hear him. And I thought it was fascinating, too, because his family just pretty much ignored him.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something interesting there, if you don't mind me digressing for a second, is that you said that in essence, these people are unsophisticated. And they don't know what they're missing.
This is what he was...
Well, yeah, but going with that, in essence, what this person was doing was as you said, expressing the fact that they weren't enjoying themselves in terms of these people, although they appear to be enjoying themselves, are just so beneath me. They don't really understand. It's like, they're eating, it's like swill before swine. They're having a great time slopping up the pig slop. But for those sophisticated consumers, this is just, I'm only here tolerating it because I have to be. And if these lesser beings appear to be enjoying themselves, but I know that in essence, they're only demonstrating their inferiority.
Well, yeah.
And isn't that a wonderful self-comforting, self-congratulatory statement? And a very, as you said, a very lovely explanation of, well, I am unhappy, but it's because these people only appear to be happy because they just don't know enough. They don't know what's good.
Right. They don't know any better.
and stealing joy from yourself.
Well, you sit there and you're like, what madness are you living in? That you've got to project the fact that if someone else is having fun, and they seem to be having more fun than I am, then I've got to come up with this reason to feel better about myself.
There's something wrong with them.
Yeah, but just...
they're enjoying themselves. Something wrong with them.
It's just, you look at it and you're like, wait, what is going on in your head?
And what it also occurs to me, Ma, is that, that judgment of, you can see that they're happy, that they're joyful, but you're judging their joy as less. In other words, that joy is the real joy. This is the unsophisticated rube bumpkin joy that that you can amaze an idiot with anything, and so they're all happy. But you're sitting there going, well, they're just idiots, and I'm just, and their joy is just the simple. But yet, true joy from when you see a child in rapture over something which you can say, well, I've seen that 100 times before. But if you're a being, you go with their joy, not the source, not the thing which, the actual thing which makes them joyful, but the fact that they are joyful. You can enjoy their enjoyment. You can say, aren't they transported by this? And yes, I remember the first time I saw this, and I, that same feeling welled up, and it connects you to their joy, rather than you saying, oh, that's 1,000 times before, and that bleeds into the child and saying, well, maybe I shouldn't be joyful because, maybe this isn't something that people should enjoy.
That's an interesting point, actually. Does that mean that he has no feedback loop?
Yeah.
Where he himself had quelled any kind of joy that was coming up on him, and not sharing it. It's in that sharing of the moment when the both of you are experiencing that wondrous emotion of joy. It amplifies when you are in true joy and you're sharing with another person. Joy, it becomes amplified. But the idea that maybe he has no connection point where he has the experience of joy deep within that he can bring up and allow to feel again.
Yeah. Well, and in essence saying that this joy is being judged by the source of joy. So you look at this person and say they're enjoying this, whatever it is, this little drink or this bit of food that I've had 1,000 times before and I don't even like, but yet in experiencing their joy, an echo of that and a corresponding enjoyment, as you said, an enhancement, a
magnification.
A magnification. Thank you. I was looking for the word that you just said. A magnification of that joy. It resonates within your being. You say, "Look at how happy they are," and you feel their happiness. It doesn't matter that it's the happiness that this thing that you've seen 1,000 times before, and they're just gobsmacked by it, and they're just in awe and wonder and joy. But you have to say to yourself, I see these beings equal to me in this enraptured state, and I'm like, this is great. This is a joyful moment. I'm going to be happy because they're happy. And instead, you have this other thing is, I'm not happy until they're not happy, or in fact, just saying that their happiness is a lesser thing. It's, you look at them and say, oh, how can they be happy over this nonsense? Oh, this is terrible. Everything about this is awful. And these uncultured boobs, are just lapping this up. And,
well, I become very amused by the stories that people wind up telling themselves, because to be truly honest with yourself is a challenge when you don't recognize that there is an internal resentment that you've been harboring, and you haven't found the root cause of it. Why are you so resentful over the fact that other people are enjoying the moment? And it's a reaction is what I'm seeing. There is no introspection in that moment. They just feel the resentment and then immediately go into some kind of a judgment form so that they can feel better than you. And in a couple different ways. It's kind of fascinating, because that is the underlying mechanism of unrecognized unhappiness. You don't know why you're unhappy, but there's this habit form that raises its head in various moments of the day. And to be aware of that instead of going into the well-worn response that has made you felt a little bit better. Because you don't really feel better when you come up with a story anyway. There's reason, but when you go to the core of that, look deep inside, the unhappiness is still there. The resentment is still there.
Right. I think you mentioned in a couple of ways. There's the story, as you just said, but then you'll also find that the habit form can become it can turn into action, and the way that you do that is somebody's enjoying themselves, and you say, well, how can they be happy about this? Well, I'll show them. I'll ruin their happiness. You see this sometimes in children where one child is sitting there playing with it, whatever it is, a toy, and they're just looking like they're just enjoying themselves, enjoying the moment. And another child will come over there and just smash it or take it away.
Knock it over.
Mm-hmm. And you say to yourself, well, why did you do that? And you say, well, they were having too much fun. That's really, they literally, if they're honest children, and children are very honest about their feelings, well, they were having more fun and I didn't want them to have that fun. And you have to nip it right there. If you don't, that grows into a pathology where in essence, as an adult, you're looking at people having fun, and you make this instantaneous judgment. Well, first of all, what they're doing isn't fun. And then second of all, I find their happiness offensive. And third, you go and say, well, I'm going to make it so that they're unhappy too. If I'm not happy, If I'm not happy, no one can be happy. And it's that spotlight, as you just said, which reveals such a depth of lack and a depth of bitterness, this resentment hole, which says if I see happiness, it makes me feel the lack even more. And rather than embrace that and say, wow, here's joy. Let me, as a being, open myself up to it and feel that. Just bask in it for a moment, and then it will echo back. No, they distrust all that. They push that all away. They open up this gaping hole of resentment and bitterness, maybe unconsciously, which we're going to talk about the unconsciousness, and then say, well, I'll show them. I'll do something to take away that joy. I will ruin. You see it in the movies all the time. The villain is always trying to ruin everyone else's joy. I'll make sure nobody else is happy. Isn't there some Disney movie where the whole premise was that the villain wanted to remove all happiness from everyone else on the earth because they were so unhappy? It's like the Grinch who stole Christmas.
That's an ongoing story.
Yeah.
You need an antagonist of some kind.
All the Who's down in Whoville are having too much fun.
Yeah.
Listen to them sing.
But
I'll show them. I'll ruin Christmas forever.
Right. No, but that it typifies a lot of the resentment that goes on in a person's head. And to catch yourself doing that, I think, is one of the major ways you can begin to observe yourself. You may not be able to stop it, but you'll be able to become aware of the fact that, oh, here it is again. I'm resenting this, and I'm giving all these poisonous reasons, or trying to poison the thing. This happens before the action, mind you.
Yeah.
If you can catch it before the action, realizing that you're poisoning your actions at this point, so that not only are you going to take away someone else's enjoyment, but you yourself have no enjoyment to share. And what are you sharing in that moment but that bitterness? Which it kind of brings up a thought. Is the reason why all this is happening is because no one is interacting with you on that deep level? Because that's, and you need that attention. So if you can't get that joyful attention, you're going to take the negative attention.
Sure, certainly that could be motive, but I think it's even less conscious than that. But I think what you just said was somebody who's becoming more aware of their motives, and I think initially it's almost this tropism of I see happiness, and it makes me unhappy. And then you're right. Then it turns into
that. But you have to stop right there in that moment to recognize that I see happiness in another, and I am unhappy. Why? What has been triggered in me that I see that and I want to take it away? That you're asking deep questions now of yourself. What has happened to me that this is now my habit form?
It's become a as you said earlier, a well-worn pathway, a bitterness of response that is triggered by others, by the happiness of others. But part of what we're talking about in this show is the unconscious resentment, and I think the origin of that is interesting. What you're talking about is where did it come from? Where if you work with children, and we've had children, and I mean, when you see children initially, and if one receives a treat, there can be sort of a resentment. Well, why didn't I get that treat?
It's what about me?
What about me? So we talked about this many episodes ago, but the it's not fair rises up, and in this case, that's the resentment. Well, if little Susie or little Johnny gets something, well, why not me? And it's very much that self-focused, if this one gets something, then why don't I get the same thing? And you have to teach. This is the teachable moment. Well, it's Johnny's birthday or it's Susie's birthday. So it's his turn, right? Mm-hmm. Or we have to share. So there's only one of whatever toy this is. And so now it's Susie's turn for a while. And then, you have to, but you see this in children when they see the child having a good time with something, there's a sort of an unconscious resentment, and then I want that, so I'll take it away, or I didn't get that, so they shouldn't have that. This is it's something. There's something there.
Well, not all kids do that.
No, not all.
Most of the time, children will just share, and they say, okay, they're learning how to take turns. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows you have to learn this, even though you don't want to. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating watching this whole thing, and the I don't wanna, and you see sympathy rise in other children when they hear, well, I really don't want to. It's like, well, okay. So how do you take that emotion into account? And it's your turn, and when you're done, this person gets a turn. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding that there's a process here. You will play with it until you're done. And that's when you find out whether or not one of the children are playing with it just to make the other kid crazy.
Again, there's that. We haven't even talked about that. When you're making the other one happy and you're getting a secret sort of happiness about that.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep this because it makes Johnny crazy.
Right. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. But the interesting part about it is that they get involved in something else.
Yes.
And they want to keep their hand on what it was.
No, isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, expound on that. It's almost like you're not even using it, but you still want it.
Right. Right. So they do, and so everyone it's not a strident thing. It's like, oh, so you're done yet? So now you're done. Okay, let that go, and you can go play this. And at that point, they're engaged in the other thing, and most of the time they just let it go, or they go back to the toy they had in hand, but then they're like, well, I'm done with this. It's like learning what it means to be done with it. Mm-hmm. That's important. People don't seem to understand. If you're done with this, then you let it go.
Well, I like that, because to put a fine point on it, it's to not identify with the possession of the thing, but identify with the joy you get from it for a period of time, and then now, I'm going to do something else, and I can come back. So you don't feel the loss or the lack. You just say that for the period of time, for now, which is the period of time, I have this thing, but very easily at the end of that moment, there's another moment. It's a different thing or a different engagement or a different, maybe it's time to nap or whatever it is. But you give you pass away from the identity of having the thing,
right,
or of denying Johnny whatever, and you go into the being state, which is, I have the thing now, I have joy, and now I'm going to have joy with something else, and I'm going to have joy with something else. And and if Johnny wants it, it doesn't cost me anything. I've had my moment with it, and now it's another's turn, and this is the healthy thing that you want to engender.
Right.
And once you get that, once you understand that, just because I have something now. It doesn't mean I need to have it next to me the whole time, whether I'm, it's the Scrooge and Marley thing, right? Where, famously in A Christmas Story, the one of the characters is Scrooge's ex-partner, Marley. Well, Marley and Scrooge were both very grasping and holding on to things throughout their whole life. And Marley says, as a ghost, he says, "What it is?" Scrooge says, "What's that loud noise?" He says, "That's the chain that I have to drag behind me." And what is it? It's forged, every link forged by me, of all the weights, of all the things that I kept and kept and kept, whether I needed them or not, throughout my whole life, and now I have to drag this through all eternity. And Scrooge is just horrified. And he says, "Don't worry about it. Your chain is 3 times longer than mine." And when you start dragging it, it'll probably drag you to the depths of the netherworld. And Scrooge is again horrified because that sentiment, that resentment. Scrooge is a lovely illustration of someone who wanted everyone else to be unhappy. He wants Bob Cratchit not to enjoy a moment of his Christmas day off because, just think of all the things I won't be doing, Mr. Cratchit, while you're off, while I'm paying you to do nothing. That isn't that, to not to graciously say, well, you worked 364 days, you get a day off. No. You can't enjoy anything because I'm unhappy.
Right.
That's Scrooge.
Yeah. No, to understand what you've actually done to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that's the moral of that story. He learns, right, what he's done to himself.
Well, that's because he was taken into the future and into the past, which is pretty much what we human beings need to do.
The introspection.
Well, to understand that there is a variety of results from your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of that when you make your decision? If there can be a variety of results, not just what you think is going to happen?
That's very true. And in some ways, Scrooge was put through a life review, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Marley gives him a glimpse of his potential afterlife, and so then does the Ghost of Christmas Future, and they all show him, as you said,
what he could have had. His girlfriend, who is happily married now with her own family, and that could have been his joy.
Yes, but
he didn't have it because he wanted money more.
Exactly, and she just couldn't. Her joy of life would have been stifled and become a burden if she had followed his path.
Right.
And so that the emptiness, this is something we haven't really talked about. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next half hour. But the emptiness of unconscious resentment. We mentioned that. When you're not happy until someone else is unhappy, what you're revealing is this giant pit of lack. You're really just saying, I am empty. And to see your fullness, to see your satisfaction, your joy, reveals, it's like a spotlight on how empty I am. And so rather than deal with that,
still painful.
And the reaction is to roar back and say, well, how can you be happy?
This can't be true.
You who's down in Whoville, I'm going to show you. I mean, this literally is the Scrooge or the Grinch or this rage at happiness.
Yeah. It's an interesting aspect to human beings. But we need to go back to the studio.
We don't have to. Scott will wait. All right. Well, it's been 3 weeks. It's been a minute, so we're rusty at this now. So anyway, let's take, as you said, let's take a moment, go back to the studio, listen to a few commercials, and on the other side, we'll unconsciously not resent the commercial break.
Batman Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, the Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Moonstones and Murder. Real murderers need a heart of stone. Meet Maggie and Mike Heartstone, parents of twin boys, entrepreneurs, and now empty nesters. Mike is retired, not by choice, from his position as chief of police in the picturesque resort town of Hamilton. And now his wife Maggie and her shop, the Cozy Crystal, are their only source of income. When a mysterious killing interrupts Hamilton's famous Springfield Park rock show, the townsfolk, the Cozy Crystal, and their lives are rocked to the core. Can Mike and Maggie figure out who is behind the murderous deeds before the town comes crashing down around them? A touch of romance, a little mayhem, and a whole lot of suspense, along with plenty of comedy and thrills galore. Get your crystal magnifying glass out. It's time for some Moonstones and Murder. Available on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and other fine e-tailers in ebook and paperback. Out soon on Audible. Get your copy today.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side, as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Hi, this is William B. Davis, the actor who plays the Smoking Man, or did play the Smoking Man on The X-Files. I'm also a writer, director, producer, and I am delighted to tell you that you are listening to the ArtistFirst radio network.
joining us on The Soul of the Everyman. All past shows are podcasts. Pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Very much, Z-Man. And I don't think we even said this in the beginning, but I am Michael Lyons. We're so rusty after this. We just launched. Yeah, you forget this stuff.
He's definitely not Margaret.
Definitely not Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight we are talking about the topic is unconscious resentment, and the other thing we forgot to do was Tolle's quote. Maybe we should do that quote. You wanna
Sure.
essay it?
Sure. Anything that you resent and strongly react to in another is also in you. Tolle.
Thank you, Tolle. And if we in the context of what we talked about in the last half hour, I'd say that therefore, if you resent the happiness in another, what you're really saying is, in so many words, that I don't even want myself to be happy. And to see happiness in another is to say, well, my ego is saying to itself, well, I'm less than. How can they be happy? I don't even want myself to be happy. And seeing happiness in another, I resent it. So I want to take it away from them. I want to make them unhappy. I want to snatch whatever joy they have, because in my own life, in myself, I take joy away from. I deny myself joy. I consider myself unworthy of joy. And this is a grievous indictment, but it's also a tremendous opportunity, because if you can be that introspective, if you can look at yourself and say, why, as you said last half hour, why is this other's joy causing me to be resentful, causing me pain? Mm-hmm. And so you have to look then, therefore, and as we just said, in the two things we mentioned, Scrooge and the Grinch, the both of them, as part of the arc of the story in both those cases, were drawn into looking at their own lives. Scrooge by the three ghosts, by the three spirits, and the Grinch, in essence, by this the heart growing 3 times, whatever the heck it was that day. But the fact that he almost lost everything. And then was saved, in essence, by this realization that his unhappiness was his own fault. His own Scrooge, his unhappiness was his own choices, his own choice of love of money. Not money itself, but the love of money. People often conflate that. They say, well, money is the root of all evil, and it's not. The true statement is the love of this thing, of an object.
The acquisition of it.
Yeah.
That's all the focus.
And the love of it.
And this is all you want to engage in.
Yeah.
And the more you get, the better you feel. You think you feel. And with the Grinch, he had literally exiled himself to the most remote and bitter and nothing. His whole cave was just this completely empty. It was an analog of the emptiness of his existence, and how lack had become his mantra. I am nothing. I have nothing. I want nothing. I have no joy. Everything is misery. And that the resentment is born of the fact that how can anyone else be happy when I'm so miserable? Mm-hmm. Joy makes my misery look even deeper. Right. And the reaction is, well, not only am I going to be angry about it, but I'm going to take that joy away. I'm going to make it so that Christmas never comes again, or whatever. I'm going to make it so that no one around me, they're going to rue the day that they try to be joyful in my presence. Because I'll make sure that their crutches are taken away and their holidays are ruined and every other thing about them, every possible joyful thing is ground out of their lives, so they're just as miserable as me. Right. No, but I mean, that kind of existence.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, why allow yourself to take that stance, to receive that?
To receive that, yes.
Did someone give that to you, that you have to be this way in order to exist? Were you denied any kind of joy at all, or freedom? See, that's what I always wonder. Is it because there is no freedom in your life? There is so much constraint. There's so much by way of you have to do this and this and this and this. And only then, we're happy. If you've checkboxed all this. That's always a question in my mind. Is there not a joyful moment for you where you look at this growing up as a child and suddenly, because children are joyful to start with, what has ground that out of you?
That you're suspicious of joy, or that you feel that you don't deserve it.
And that is not, people, they always talk about being natural. You should be living more naturally. But I don't think they realize that thinking so hard that you have no joy in the moment is exceedingly unnatural. I mean, it's probably the most unhealthy, unnatural thing that you can do. But it's encouraged.
Well, and to go back into our experience, if you recall, when we were in the Sloan Kettering and we were in there with Christopher, is how the reaction of people around us, or the doctors especially, when you would say, in essence, well, we're going to enjoy this moment anyway. It was almost astounding. You would be handed whatever the news was. This is happening, and this is happening, and this is not going well, and this is, and yes, you hear it and you understand it. And you say, well, yes, I understand all these things, but we're going to enjoy ourselves in this moment anyway. In so many words, but it wasn't words; it was just the actions, and you would get these incredulous looks, or you would get this feeling that, much in the same way as we said in the first half hour, well, these uncultured bumpkins are still enjoying themselves, even though they're under the sentence of death.
Well, yeah. There were a few people that basically looked at you like, well, don't you understand?
Don't you understand?
Your child could die from this. How can you be happy about almost anything? And you looked at them like, I can't explain this to you. Mm-hmm. It's not that we don't understand. We understand only too well.
Better than you understand us.
Well, it's again, you looked at it and you knew whether or not you could say something, but what I found is example was the best teacher. So to continue doing what you're doing, being very appreciative of every single moment. And when people were seeing that you were appreciative of the smallest things, usually their jaws drop open. And they could, because when you're truly appreciative of something, the other person's heart perceives it and receives the gratitude. And in that moment of a thank you, a real thank you, I can't even describe you almost call it a melting of the heart. There's this, because everybody wants to think. But when the gratitude is there and everything is being done with great, great love, there is a look of awe that crosses the other person's face, because they realize in that moment they can't appreciate what you're appreciating right now. They can't see what you're seeing right now. They understand only too well what you're up against, And in conversation with you, they realize you will also understand. But you're standing in a space that they cannot reach. So completely in the moment and allowing great, great love to flow through you. That moment just speaks volumes to whoever is around you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way to explain it. And for whatever reason, whether it was another mother or one of the other children that was also sick, it lightens the load.
Absolutely.
And that's all you really want to do. You give them a space to let go of whatever stories are being told. And they realize that in this moment they are alive. They're so alive. And we're all together. And tomorrow doesn't matter.
Tomorrow doesn't matter. The moment matters.
We are alive here together. And the smile that comes. It again reminds me of when a little baby, you just see them and they see you. You meet each other's eyes and you just smile like you're here and I'm here. And you don't have to say hi. Most people start doing hand gestures, waving. Or,
baby dog.
Yeah, all sorts. Oops,
Careful.
sorry. But being in that moment, you're just so happy to be completely aware of you being there. There's other people around you. They're sharing with you. This is wonderful. We acknowledge each other. That purity is priceless. And we convince ourselves that, oh, gee, that's just boring.
Well, to go back to what you said, the initial news comes in, right? And they want you to react, and you don't. And then you say, do you understand this? And you can, at that point, we could come back chapter and verse. We understand exactly this. You come, so that, yes, we've met you at the mental level. We completely understand what you're talking about. We're going to enjoy ourselves anyway. And this sets up a dissonance. There's suddenly a conflict. It's like, wait a minute, does not compute. They're going to enjoy themselves despite the fact that I've just told them the worst news you can tell anybody. And the dissonance arises. But then you're exactly right. At the heart level, there's because they're human beings at their base, whether they realize it or not. At the heart level, there's this moment, this matters. This joy denied is to cease living. You say, okay, yes, we're all under a sentence of death. Everything is going to go sideways all the time. You can't live in that mental space because then you are the Grinch. You are Scrooge. You have to say, in this moment of joy and in this moment of now, we're going to enjoy what is happening now, regardless of the fact that it's all going to go south in 10 minutes. Well, we got this 10 minutes. And that resonates with them. And as you say, the smile comes. The ones who are honest with themselves, who can shake off the mental shell and say, yeah, you do understand, but you're not going to let it define you. You're not going to say, this is my identity. I am now the prisoner under the sentence of death. I'm going to be miserable and then I'm going to die. Regardless of what happens, I'm just going to grab misery and fill myself with it. No. You say, in this moment, yes, I heard everything you're going to say. I'm going to enjoy myself anyway.
Well, I don't know if the observation is there when you are in that moment where you have nothing but emptiness inside. Resentment does not allow you to bring a joyful, glorious, energetic state into your heart. Resentment is very low and deep and
empty.
Just, there's nothing there. When you are in moments of trial, hard times, whether you realize it or not, you always look into your heart to see what's there that can help you get through.
Mm.
And if you have not filled it with moments of joy of life, whatever the episodes are, whatever it may be, simplest of things that you enjoy, like you love vanilla ice cream.
Mm.
You just enjoy it. Unless you have a reservoir of that experience filling your inner spaces, that emptiness just allows the misery to echo through and amplifies that deep lack. Your soul has nothing to give you. And that is a truly sad state. But you can change it by choosing life. To say, I am participating right now in this moment of life. And that's why a lot of breathing techniques help, because it just stills the mind and allows you just to concentrate on something as simple as breathing and allowing yourself to become centered and still and not entertain all the thoughts that keep trying to pour into your head, but allow the heart to understand that that is what drained me. I have nothing to give. I want to fill myself with life itself, so that I have something to give and receive. That is the movement of life, the giving and receiving. It doesn't have to be of things. It's experience. It is recognizing life as it presents itself in front of you. And it has nothing to do with whether you like it or not.
Also true.
It is. Can you recognize it?
And in the moments, the most important time to do that, or the crucial time to do that, is in the moments when you're presented with hardship, or you're presented with the opportunity to resent the happiness of others, if you will.
Well, what I'm saying is that if you have nothing in you, that space internal has nothing but resentment. That's when it's got to click in your head that, I haven't filled myself up with anything.
Yes. Yeah, yes. And maybe you've emptied yourself in essence. This is what we were saying before, was that this resentment is a pit. It is a hole. It's a lack. And the fact that you look at others' joy and say, how can they be happy? Because it makes the pit even deeper, if you will.
Yeah.
If you're denying yourself happiness, you want to deny everyone happiness. And it's not that these, in our situation, in the situation of kids in the cancer wards, it's not that the doctors are trying to make you unhappy, but they think that they're trying to inform you. But in essence, what they're saying is that we are holding your happiness in our hands. And the fact that you should identify with your illness and look to us to relieve you of it. And that's a very lovely conceit. I'm God and I can fix everything. And instead, when you go back to them and say, we hear you, and it's lovely that you're going to try and help us, but in this moment of now, in this moment, your efforts are doing whatever they're doing, but we still have to live it. You're an agent, and you may help us or you may not. But our lives are our lives. Christopher's life was Christopher's life. And to predicate your joy on whether or not another can give it to you is completely wrong. You have to say, it's mine by the moment. Take it in. And to look to another and say, they're having more joy than me. No, you're the only one that's denying you all the joy in the universe. It's within your grasp to have. You merely have to say, I receive it.
Well, you have to let go of believing that you understand everything.
Well, yes, that's for sure.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that will prevent you from receiving. I know.
Right. Yeah,
so
I know.
there is no room for the unknown, for what you don't know. If you're truly honest, you realize you know very little. Have you made room for the fact that you know very little? And when I say make room, I mean whenever you're approaching an experience, acknowledging that, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to open myself up.
And maybe experience joy.
And experience what is in front of me. And I believe we reached the end of our hour.
We made it.
Mm.
You're right, of course. And in joyful non-resentment, I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret. And thank you for listening.